Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Beyond from Mission Star Podcast. I don't understand why that P didn't come at the very end. And first off, no, you don't see blackness. First off, you see me in all my green screen. Hang on, before I continue my thoughts, there's one thing that's missing in this podcast. Yes, music. Uh, it has to start every time we do a show, and I believe it's appropriate for this week. So this week, oh hey, he's up there in the corner. That's cool. Um, so this week, as you might see in my corner of the screen, the return from the San Francisco 49er game, Greg Dietz.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back. Uh,
Oh, it's good to be back.
yes, I miss you. The stream misses you. The world misses you. All good stuff. So we got multiple topics for today. Again, thank you for joining me or joining us, I should say. On if you're watching us on Twitch or you're watching us on our YouTube channel. Um, but yeah, let's begin today's topics. So, we got some topics for today. I think where I should begin. Let's start with the game that everybody got up in arms about because hey, Konami. So this past week was the Gamescom event. Think of it as the lesser of the E3s out there, and because of it, a new trailer came out from Konami for a new Metal Gear game. And no, it was not a pachinko machine. It was for a game called Metal Gear Survive. Now, this game was shown using the Fox engine, the very same engine from Metal Gear Solid 5. And while Kojima left, Konami had the engine and the license to the game and decided that, hey, let's make a Left 4 Dead style game with Metal Gear characters in it. And in trailer, you see, four people get instantly transported through a portal from their universe into another universe where there's a bunch of zombies with horns on their head. And these soldiers are from the Metal Gear game, but not particularly they're like new characters at this point.
Yeah.
So it was shown, it was released, and of course it came with a lot of criticism from lots of fans, and just people who were like, "This isn't Metal Gear. What are they doing?" And some were like, "Well, Kojima's not there, so Kojima's doing his own thing." And Konami's trying to make something that's not a pachinko machine, because apparently I heard that it wasn't going too well for them. So they're going back
Not
to
as
video
well as they'd
games.
hope.
Yeah, so they're going back to video games, at least with the Metal Gear game. Now, my initial thought about this is that um, I can't really base anything off the CG trailer per se. There was no gameplay shown. The only thing that was shown really is just an idea of where it's going. I don't know. I mean, I think the one thing to take away from all of this is the fact that that it it definitely, I'm not sure if it's too soon for Konami to put out on their Metal Gear game due to the recent events of what happened with Kojima and the Metal Gear Solid 5 scandal. But people are really quick to not support Konami because of that, and
Right, right.
um, have already chosen a side, and now it's more or less like at this
Well,
point.
what's really funny, to me is that Konami fucked up big time.
They did.
They really shot themselves in the foot with what happened.
Hmm.
And it seems like now they're trying desperately to get that audience back, to get those people back. And
Yeah.
it's not going to work. It's not going to matter. Um, there will be people that buy Metal Gear Survive, um, but not enough people. And if you're going to make a Metal Gear game, that's not a Kojima game, you're not gonna sell. It's not gonna sell well.
Hmm.
Like people just don't care.
Yeah.
Um, that being said, if Konami wants to get in the good graces of fans again, they need to, um, I don't know, do something for Kojima. They need to do something nice for Kojima. They need to mend that bridge that's clearly burnt to the fucking ground. And
I got it. Don't
uh
worry.
okay. Couldn't hear me or you?
I just turned you up. But
Okay.
you should be good.
Okay. Uh but yeah, like they have to do something for Kojima. They have to. And then also like maybe bring in some other people that could make or remake Castlevania or some of their other franchises that are well loved. You have to get in the good graces of gamers again, and right now Konami is just it's not there. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. I think that I don't want to say it's too soon, but again, like I think that if you want to get good graces, you definitely have to show. You got to show a game. And I don't think it has to be Metal Gear really. I think that you know an original IP would probably do them better than trying to go back to um onto another license they can return to because like again it's too fresh for people's minds in terms like of Konami screwing over Kojima and the whole Metal Gear series, or at least when it happened to Metal Gear Solid 5 and what they're continuing to do with that IP. I think it might be better for them to just start off a new IP and just kind of trying to get into good graces with people then than right
even
now.
then they have a very steep uphill battle to earn the trust of gamers again. It's like Uchi says, like we will never respect Konami because they absolutely like not only did they fuck over Kojima, but they fucked over all the gamers that really wanted a good conclusion to five
Yeah.
to MGS5, and because it doesn't technically have an ending to an extent from what I haven't played it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good with stealth games or games like that in general, but I've watched enough of it to understand that the game is essentially like having sex and then like your partner being done and you going, well, what the fuck? And she just goes, I got mine, and walks away. Uh,
Yeah.
and on top of all that, with it's just they have a very strong uphill battle, and I don't think they can do it. I really don't. Um, it's too little, too late situation. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. What I will say though is like I've always hold out that there he goes. Okay, I always hold out that maybe the game is better than people would give it. Um, but
Even if the game's good, it doesn't matter.
yeah, I know.
At this point, it harkens back to when uh, Activision kind of fucked over the guys who are now at Respawn, and people did not want to buy Black Ops
Yeah,
because of that exact reason. And if you look at the sales of games that like of the Call of Duty games, Black Ops is one of the lowest selling games simply
agreed,
because
agreed.
of what happened. So Metal Gear Survive will sell because there are a group of gamers that love the Metal Gear franchise but
Hmm.
don't even know who the fuck Kojima is, don't even care about Konami. They
Yeah,
don't know any of that. So it will sell some. Will it sell enough? That's yet to be seen. But I feel like the gamers that are like they love gaming that much to where they listen to podcasts, they read the news and stuff like that, they're not going to buy it.
agreed, agreed, agreed. And I agree with you. It yeah, I don't know. Konami.
I know that
If
sounds like hyperbole, but it's
I
the
know,
truth.
I know. The thing about it is like it's kind of hard if you're a Konami. Like, what do you do? Like, you let go of, like one of your, I guess, your most attractive star in your company, and now you're left with people who can still make games and have the Fox engine, but you're left with like trying to fix what had happened, like prior the mess that they've made. So
Yeah.
I mean, they made their bed and they had to lie in it. So it's tough. And I don't know if they'll ever survive, honestly. Um, but you know what? I will give it the benefit of the doubt.
Was that pun intended?
Yes.
Good.
There are some times where I make puns unintended and it works. See, the key thing is taking ownership of it and then realizing afterwards that was on a mistake.
Oh, I know, I got it.
But yeah, that's Metal Gear in a nutshell. Now staying within the Japanese market. So recently, uh, Harada of Namco yeah, can I talk today?
Namco
Harada,
Bandai.
yeah, Bandai Namco, the guy who's making
Are you
Tekken
okay?
7.
Are you doing all right? Are you having a little stroke there?
So Harada has been pretty he's been pretty criticized for his games and characters that he's been bringing to the Tekken 7 series. And he's been pretty stern as far as like what stands he particularly stands out when it comes to women in video games. And it's always been a hot button topic issue when it comes to just women in games, real or fake, as well as media as well. So this was by Eurogamer.net. Tekken 7's Harada on a thorny subject of sexy swimsuits and the Western sensibilities. Just because like he was getting some criticism for his female characters in his games. Um,
What
so
games has he made? Help me out here, cause.
he's made the Tekken series for the most part.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. I'll read the first paragraph. This is by Adolf Wilson. During a hands-on with Tekken 7 at Gamescom today, I spoke with Tekken's chief producer and director, Kishiro Harada, about a series of tweets he made recently with regards of Tekken 7 swimsuit content being released in the West. When queried of whether it should be made available in the US, Harada's now deleted reply was a short and sweet, ask your country's SJWs, ha 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 ha. He later apologized to another female fan, deleting the tweet and saying, "This message is not for females," by which I think he might have meant it was not directed exclusively at women. Um, and he points out that, like, that his characters in the game are sexualized in both ways. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
because what he does is like when it comes to oops, hey, black screen. um, so when it comes to like games that he's have made in the Tekken series, like he'll have like the little sexy swimsuit for women, but then he'll turn around and have like equally as sexy or raunchiness on men. Um, and this is something that he's been doing for a while in these games. Um, but it brings up the issue. It brings up the conversation because like the way the United States are with games versus what Japan is, and it's been this culture clash for the last, I'd say, couple of years.
Right.
Um, and that the fact that when we play games over here, like, women are depicted much differently than it is in Japan. Japan culturally, their games are more male based. They're more they're women.
Well, I wouldn't say male based because the idea that a woman in a swimsuit is somehow sexualizing her being a bad thing is what confuses me. First off, yes, Western sensibilities are quite a bit different than Japanese sensibilities. When we talk about crossing my arms like I'm mad, uh, when we talk about like what the sensibilities are with with those situations, with people in general seeing what they see in a video game, you have to understand that in Japan, a woman can be both extremely sexy and badass. But here in
Agreed.
America, that doesn't somehow go hand in hand, and that's really confusing. A female character is only badass if they're not sexy, and vice versa. Um, that's why a lot of the Japanese fighting games that we've had over the course of time, the women are very sexy but they're still badass.
Mhm.
Um, it's I'm honestly surprised that Bayonetta never gets this hate.
Yeah, the funny thing about it, when Bayonetta was revealed, like, the argument for her was that she was in control of her sexiness. Like, she was in control of like being a badass, but like she was
But
still.
that still doesn't make any sense considering who's to say that these other women aren't in control of their sexiness?
That is true. That is true, and it may.
Like, and it's still created by a man. So to make that argument doesn't fucking make any sense.
Yeah.
If you're gonna say one thing, say for the other. Now, on that same note, um, I think that in this day and age, and I've actually thought about put a lot of thought into this. We live in a new era of censorship,
We do. We do.
and so what I mean by that is we live with this new you go back to when comic books were fresh and new, and there was the Comics Code. They were like, oh, they're too dark. We need to, there needs to be censorship. Or you go back to when TV started. There was this big thing about censorship, and then it eventually became more relaxed and more relaxed and more relaxed. The internet is going through that right now. The internet's still fairly young, and so now the internet is getting that same censorship, and it will die off eventually. But as of right now, because the internet's going through that strong censorship, we have to deal with people getting upset about Tekken characters being sexy. We have to deal with people coming out of the woodwork and saying, well, the new Power Ranger movie can't have boob armor. We have to deal with that. And it's not something I care to deal with. It's not something I like, but it's the truth. It's just the way it is. And we're not going to change those people that are upset about sexiness in Tekken. And I think personally, it's great when a developer goes, look, fuck you. It's my game. I'll do what I want. If you
Agreed.
don't want to buy it, then don't buy it.
Agreed. Agreed. I love that too. Like we have seen recently, we've seen games or game companies bend to people's will a little too much as of late. And example would be how the Metal Gear how the Mass Effect 3 ending happened, and we had this conversation on this podcast long ago and over again. But to kind of reiterate, like people back then were not very happy with the ending. They wanted a different ending, so they
Metal Gear Solid 3?
no Mass Effect 3.
Oh, Mass Effect 3,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So like
Getting me on this shit.
I know. But just to point out, like people have done that before with games and game companies to kind of been pushing a little too much on the fans, like, oh, we are trying not to offend anybody, we're gonna change this, and they would do it.
Titanfall just got some flack because none of their pilots are female. All
Yeah.
of their pilots are male or robots.
Yeah. And there was also sorry, go ahead.
I think that when you want, in my personal opinion, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but in my opinion, if you want representation, if you want proper representation in video games and media in general, stop calling foul to people who aren't
Agreed.
representing you.
Agreed.
It doesn't help. It's literally like going, I can't put out this fire with this wood, guys. It's not helping. I don't know what to do. I keep putting out the fire with wood, but it's not working. Go out and make that thing that represents you. Go out and support the things that represent you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what kills me about people in general is they cry foul so quickly instead of just going, well, I don't really want to play Tekken because there's nothing in there that I see that really fit me. Sure,
Yeah.
I've been a fan in the past, but maybe this one's not for me, and I'm gonna move on to something else that I want to support.
Yeah. And even
So
and to point out like that kind of that ideal or that way of thinking when it comes to games. Like I get like if you're offended by something in the game that you don't particularly like, then it's your prerogative to not play the game. And that's fine. But at the same time, judging it just based on the sole fact that hey, these women are in these sexy outfits, I'm not gonna play the game just because of that. That kind of thinking is a little too off base. Yeah,
it doesn't help the industry.
Yeah, it does.
That's the important lesson that I want to bring across is that when you go onto Twitter and you tell an artist of Steven Universe that their two non-gender specific characters are weirdly gay or something like that, or telling the artist that she's gay bashing to the point where she leaves Twitter, you're not helping the gay community at all.
No, you're not.
Not even one bit are you helping anybody.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. If you didn't like it, then stop watching Steven Universe.
Yeah. We live in a very weird time when it comes to these things.
So that's why I say, that's one of the reasons I say we live in a new era of censorship.
Yep.
This is the new censorship that we have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
People are totally cool with some fucked up shit happening in their movies, TV shows, comic books, whatever, because that's just the culture we live in. But now the internet is the new censorship, or
Agreed.
the internet has the new censorship.
Agreed.
And some could call that the social justice warriors. Some could call that just extreme liberalism. There's a lot of names you could call it, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna call it the new censorship.
Mm-hmm.
When you tell somebody else you can't do that because it offends me, you don't help anybody. You're not helping anybody.
Agreed.
Progression is not demanding that person cater to your whims. That's not progression. That's literally censorship.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So
Yeah. But yeah, I think that I applaud Harada for the game he's developing and sticking to his guns and not changing. Like he joked, every so often on Twitter if somebody tweets at him. There was one time where like, what was it? Like people were mad about Lucky Chloe being in the game, and that he said like, oh, if you guys are mad about that, then I'll just replace this character with like a muscle bound meathead American character if you want. And like he kind of goes off and and he's kind of a troller, but at the same time like he would like also like just poke fun.
well, I got a question for you. There was a video that popped up online recently. It's about 4 minutes long, and it's I hope that they do more in the series, but it's the reason why there's certain sexual things in the world, or sexual like quirks, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And the first episode was on tentacle porn.
Oh.
It kind of
Oh
explained
wait, I think
why.
I've seen this video actually. Yeah. Where
Okay, so
yeah.
for anybody listening
Yeah.
who hasn't seen it, I'll do a quick explanation. The idea was that Western imperialism had not imperialism, sorry, Western. Uh, Basically, people of the church were trying to come and convert the Japanese people to Christianity. And when they got there, they noticed that a lot of them just like open public nudity was not a problem. Taking baths with your family in the same bathtub was not an issue. Women and men, like women were just topless all the time, and men or women would just wear like very small coverings on their genitals, and that was just the norm. And there was also this like um, art that men would, or well, I don't know if men and women drew it, but from what I understand, it was just men at the time. They would draw basically pornography pictures, and they were on scrolls. And uh, over the course of time, with more of the the Western influence reaching Japan, women and men both became more and more self-conscious, and that became that came to more and more closure on things, and covering up and whatnot. And so when manga was becoming a thing, and I don't know the time era, this one particular artist had discovered that within the law of like not showing penises or vaginas, you could show tentacles. Tentacles were not a problem, and so he did that, and it fucking just shot the fuck up. It
Yep.
became such a huge thing, to the point where like it was synonymous with Japanese porn.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays in Japan, it's very much like our porn industry, but they're a lot more, I guess, open about their sexual stuff than we are, because we're still a bit more,
Yep.
conservative, I guess. But
Yeah, we are. And also not to mention, like we're still what as the United States, like still pretty young compared to most of the world. So yeah, but yeah, that's that. So going from the culture class discussion with Harada and Tekken 7 and all that good stuff, we're gonna go to something that actually might have leaked today. So as I was getting stories for today's show, one of which I found recently where it was a positive leak. So let me get up the thing here. Now this is a rumor, so be as it may, but it has photos here to kind of confirm it. This is from Gamasutra. This is from Sal Romano on the PS4 Slim images leaked. User on British classifies Gumtree is selling will propose to be an unannounced, unreleased Slim PS4 model that includes the following images. which is you see a box of the PS4, what it would be in, on top of like what's going to be included within the package deal, the details about what it's going to be in the box, and then also follow up with images of the actual console itself, which has a slimmer version of the console. It's much more flat this time around. The bottom of the console has like these the insignia of the face buttons you see on the controller, um, as well as the what it looks like outside when it's fully packaged. The design of the unit matches that of following post of a drawing posted by an alleged employee of Chinese manufacturing company Foxconn on Chinese forum A9BG in June. The same user claimed that in addition to the mini model, he also worked on a thicker model that's almost 10 pounds, which sounds like the upgraded PS4, and that a few production lines opened for a PSP-like device. So take it as it may, with a grain of salt. Whether this is actually real or not is to everybody's discretion. But uh, this looks real. There's no two buts about it. But this looks like it's a real thing.
Yeah,
Now,
it's from what I was seeing. There's a lot of people who are just kind of like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
yeah.
There might be some slight adjustments by the time it reaches our reaches stores, but
Hmm. And how long has
there's
it?
like
Oh, go ahead.
what's that?
I was
I
gonna
was
say.
gonna, there's a little. Is this
uh,
what we're gonna do now? Go ahead, you first.
okay, so I was gonna say like how long has it been since like the original PS4 came out? Like it has to be at least what I want to say 2 years ago. I want to say. Um,
Uh, no, because it came out. Hold on, let me look it up. I'm looking it up right now.
all right. Because
Uh,
because like I feel like it's been long enough to where a slim version is warranted for the PS4. Um, and that Tokyo Game Show is coming up pretty soon. And I've heard that Sony has some stuff in the wraps for announcements for that event. Would make sense, among other companies as well, waiting up for TGS as
2000,
well.
2013.
Okay, so it came out 2000. Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
I knew
Well.
it came out around the same time that the Xbox had come out. I knew that for a fact.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
Because
Oh, that's
I
right.
didn't.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Wii U came out a year before it.
Yeah. The Wii U. Did it come out a year before it, or was it a
I'm
year
checking right
after? All
now. I'm
right.
checking right
All
now.
right. We're on the scene.
Whoa, it came out 2 years before it. 2012.
Okay. That makes sense. So yeah, it definitely it looks real. I think it's going to be shown at TGS.
Yeah, again, my favorite thing about like the Xbox One Slim and the PS4 Slim is how much people are upset with them.
Why?
Which my response is like, you realize that this happens every console generation, right?
Oh, you mean the
Like
leak?
if oh the leak, I don't whatever, fuck whatever. Like it looks cool. I want one.
Hmm.
That's probably the PS4 I'm gonna eventually get. I'm excited to see what the price is. Like whatever. But I'm talking about like people are upset that it's happening. People are upset that the Xbox One S is even a thing. Like, oh, what's wrong with my Xbox? And
Yeah.
I'm like, there's nothing wrong with your Xbox. This that happens every fucking console generation with the high selling console. Are
I
you
would
dumb?
I would get people being more upset if they bought an Xbox One and then like literally a month later found out that there's a much powerful Xbox One coming out pretty soon. Like I would I,
Uh,
I, I would I would get that. I think
I'd
if
only get upset. I'd only get upset if I bought one and then found out like a year, like in a year's time, they're not going to be supporting the console I just bought. That's when I'd be upset.
Mhm,
Otherwise, I wouldn't care.
yeah. Um but yeah, it makes sense. It's been a while since we had anything of a PS4, nothing in terms of another console per se from Sony. So it definitely makes sense for a PS4 Slim to come out. Again, it more than likely, it'll probably more talked about at TGS, which is going to be next month, pretty soon. I want to say the middle or the end of next month when TGS is happening, because I know that there's definitely some announcements going to be happening from Sony, as well as other companies I plan to talk about as well. So, um, I as far as the design, it's fine. It's a flatter PS4, which I'm okay with. Um, I like the cool insignia thing on the bottom of it, like the the X and the circle and the triangle and the PS4 logo right there. So that's cool. I think it looks cool. I think it's fine. It's not the most
Yeah.
sexiest console in the world, but yeah, I think for what it does and what it can provide, I think it's fine. Besides, I think
Um.
similar smaller consoles are better.
Nick. I don't remember his last name. From Polygon. He tweeted out a picture of its undercarriage, and apparently the feet of it
Hmm.
are the X, triangle, circle, and square.
Yeah, I saw that. It's in the images that I got. It's
Is
really
that
cool.
is that what you just said? And I totally just fucking
Yeah, I think
overshot you with like it was a new thing.
I think you did.
Okay, well,
It looks cool. I'm down for it. So I'm just wondering what the price is gonna be for the Slim for the PS4. If I were to guess, mm, let's see, PS4 when it came out it was like around 400. I want to say. Let me hang on. Check for me, Greg. Fact checked it.
how much? How much was what? I'm
the
sorry.
PS
The
the
PS4.
yeah the PS4 yeah.
It was 400 because it was a big deal that it was only 400, whereas the Xbox One was 500.
Oh, gotcha. So if it was 400, I would say for the Slim, it's got to be at least
250.
250. I'd say at least
Yeah.
three, at least 300.
Well, and here's why I'm saying 250 because right now you can buy a PS4 for 350.
Oh, okay,
Um,
gotcha.
and $50 less doesn't. I mean, they'd have to advertise it with like it's got better processors and junk and that and whatnot. So like they'd have to advertise it with like a reason for it being 300.
Yeah,
But at the very least, it needs to be 300.
okay. I think 250 is a really good a deal for a PS4. That's really good. That is like
Yeah.
that is Wii U or Wii territory when it comes to that type of pricing. But yeah, I'm down for it. So we'll wait and see. TGS is coming in pretty soon, so if anything, we'll probably have some more information as that comes out. Now, going from the PS4 to a game that we both like, Overwatch. And
Yes.
Overwatch this past week at Gamescom revealed some news. Uh, one of which was a trailer for the new map, which they showed off, and
Eckenwald.
yeah, it looks really cool, and it's a castle. It's kind of like a medieval type of setting. Kind of it looks kind of like it's like in
Well,
Poland.
from what it is, and this is story based mostly,
Hmm.
Eckenwald was a battleground during the Omnic Wars.
Mm.
And um, as a matter of fact, the we'll talk about this a little bit in a little bit because it does matter. But in the short that they came out with Bastion, there is a moment where Bastion is programmed to move to a location. That location is back to Eckenwald. His basically him coming back was outside of Eckenwald. His battle was in Eckenwald. Um, so um, uh, during like in this particular location, which is where a lot of the oh god, what are they called? Basically, the same soldiers um, that Reinhardt is.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Defenders or some shit like that.
Something like that.
But oh fuck, I can't remember their name. Anyway, they basically held down that castle because if you look at the distance of any of the shots that they have, you can see a modern city in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And where the enemy team spawns, or the defending team, I should say, where they spawn are there's computers and junk inside this castle. So clearly there's something in Eckenwald that's super important, and that's why you're moving that payload to the castle. I'm sure that once like the map releases, we'll get more information on the story about what happened in Eckenwald and why it was such a hot contested point for or during the Omnic Wars. But as it stands right now, moving the payload to the castle, you are technically the bad guys,
Yeah.
just like in King's Row,
Mm-hmm.
and the defenders of the good guys. Um, uh, but yeah, there's a reason that like there's so many Omnics on the map, and there's also a weird thing with the clocks where they're at an impossible time. Uh,
Yeah.
and they're all stuck at that same impossible time. I don't remember what it is. I want to say like 240, but like in a backwards manner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh,
It
so
looks
there's
good.
just so many. Yeah, there's just so many really neat things about what how it looks and what it'll feature, and I'm really excited to see. Oh, sorry. Really excited to see what it could like what you can do in the map because apparently like when you get towards the castle, there's a lot more verticality.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to see that. But they also didn't release a date for it. So
Yeah, they kept that unknown. As far as like when that will be, I don't know. I would think maybe pretty soon. Maybe. I would.
well, my theory here's my theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So BlizzCon comes up in November.
Oh shit, you're right.
So next month we'll get Eckenwald.
Mm-hmm.
And then in October we're gonna get the Halloween skin like special thing that they did, kind of like with Lucio Ball
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
Olympics.
yeah.
And they're gonna have Halloween costumes because I was watching a thing where they're somebody like data mined the game and got a bunch of audio tracks,
Oh.
and a few of them are characters talking to each other about their Halloween costumes.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it makes
Yeah,
sense anyways.
right. And then November when um, BlizzCon happens. My theory about November is when they're going to release some Sombra. That they're basically going to be like, we have something special for you, and then boom, Sombra.
Mm-hmm.
Which if you don't know the Sombra thing, that's a huge fucking other thing that we can get into later. Which I'm curious if the game detectives have seen anything in the Eckenwald trailer or even in the Bastion trailer, or not trailer but video about her.
Mm.
But um, um, where was I? My brain. Oh, and then in December we're getting Christmas skin stuff.
Yep. Yep.
So or at least holiday skin stuff.
Yeah.
But I say use quotation marks because I'm sure it'll be holiday skin because I'm sure that a couple of the characters won't be Santa Claus and junk like that. It'll be
Yeah.
something else.
For sure. For sure. I
But there's
think.
also a theory, just to throw this out there before you continue. There's also a theory that in November we're not getting Sombra, we're getting another new map, and that's an Arctic map, which
Oh.
will tie into a December release with the
Good point.
holiday stuff.
Do you think in due time, because there are some maps that are actually our characters' homelands, or that's where they're from. Do,
Every map in Overwatch is a contested story battle.
uh,
Um, every location has a reason for being there. Now, like something like Hanamura, not as much. That map is literally just there because that's the Shimada clan's dojo, and it's just a cool map to fucking do things on.
mhm.
But a lot of like every single payload map is like important, like the reason that you're doing it. Um, uh, the capture zone maps. So like you just have that one capture zone in the center. Those are like those locations mean something. So like Nepal is basically where Zenyatta's from
Mhm.
and where Genji trained. Um, but uh, but those maps are just there because they're maps.
Right.
There's
Right.
always a little bit of story in every single map, but nothing like Like, okay, so like let's take King's Row for example. King's Row takes place after the events in the short that we saw with Widowmaker and Tracer, and the giant statue that's in the center next to the capture zone, before you even get the payload out, is that particular Omnic that got shot in the head.
Mm.
Uh, and if you get the payload to its destination, you're actually setting off a giant EMP to kill all the Omnics in London, or at least in that section of London, because that's like a big Omnic location. So if you win that map, you kill Omnics. Is essentially what it is. Route 66, you're moving that payload because it has what the Deadlock gang were trying to get off of that train that's in the very beginning above the diner. Um, which is like it's not really explained. It's just a thing that they were trying to get. It's important. On El Dorado, you're moving the payload to the giant pyramid structure because it's a power source. And as a matter of fact, if you win on that map and move the payload to its location, when your characters are all standing there in their victory poses, watch the background and you'll see these pillars of light pop up.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
Otherwise, if the attacking or not attacking, but the defending team wins, you don't see anything. Uh, what's another payload map? Let's see. They got Kings Row, El Dorado, Route 66. There's three more.
Can't remember the moment. Okay. Um,
The,
but
but
yeah,
basically,
yeah,
the idea is that every single map has some element of like lore in it or some information
yeah.
that if you're paying attention to, you'll get. And I think with Eckenwald, um, we're going to get a lot of information about Reinhardt. We're going to get a lot of information about the Omnic War in Germany. We're going to pay attention to what's on the walls. And you're going to see a lot of German writing. You're going to see a lot of language you don't understand. Google Translate that shit.
Yep.
I'm sure that
Yeah.
people will already do it. That's kind of how I get most of my information. Is people who are willing to put that kind of energy into it, whereas I just want to play
Mhm.
the game.
Yep.
But I am interested in the lore. I'm interested in the world that they've built around this simple yet complicated fucking first-person shooter.
Yep.
It's I could go on and on and on about why Overwatch is brilliant in numerous fucking locations
Mm-hmm.
or situations where other games fucking drop the ball, but it's I'm very very excited for Ekenwald, and I think it's going to unlock a lot of information about the past 30 years ago or whatever. So
Yep.
looking forward to it.
Definitely, definitely, I am too, and I think you might be spot on. If your predictions are right, you heard it first on this Twitch channel and on this YouTube channel. I don't know, Greg. Who knows? Maybe Blizzard will say like, "Hey, you're right. We're gonna invite you to BlizzCon." That'd be cool.
I'd shit right now. I'd shit my whole body weight.
But in due time, we'll find out what's gonna happen with Overwatch and anything of that sort in the near future for Blizzard. And we cannot wait for that. Now we come down to. Oh, I forgot to add these two stories. How could I forget? So speaking of the PS4, I need to type this in actually. PS4 patch notes. So recently, the PS4 did get an update recently, and some details regarding that I have right here. PS4 System Software 4.0 will feature folders, UI refresh, and more. This is by John Kohler, Vice President of PlayStation Brand Marketing. They have a UI refresh, which basically is we made a lot of adjustments and improvements to PS4's main user interface that include some changes you may notice right away, like a new system background and revised with a new tab to smaller changes like updated pop-up notifications and redesigned system icons. As a whole, it adds up a more refined and easy-to-use UI. So basically, a better UI for people who have PS4s to kind of go around with. The quick menu option now, as you may know, pressing holding the PS button on the DualShock PS4 or DualShock 4 brings up the quick menu. We've overhauled this menu to make it faster and easier to use. One big change is that the menu now covers a portion of the screen, meaning you don't have to leave the gameplay, which I found annoying. Like when I hit the PS4 or the home button, like it will take you out of the game completely. Now you can just like on this, it just comes up on the side. You can still be in game, which is great. The share menu, we've given us some overhaul to the share menu, which appears once you press the share button on the DualShock 4. Like the quick menu, it only covers a portion of the screen. It will save the last social network your shared video clips or screenshots to, making the process of sharing screenshots or video a bit easier and more streamlined. And you can also upload longer video clips to Twitter with 10 up to 140 seconds, folders, improvements, yada yada. So it kind of looks like they are making the PS4 almost like a PC in a way. With the introductions to some of these new things, as well as improvements to the system UI. Um, so yeah,
Well, it's
so
about time they update the system UI because it hasn't been really touched since the system had come out. So
good point. Good point. So a much needed update for sure. And it's very interesting. It's kind of going in almost in the PC route. I mean, it's kind of something that's kind of been common recently with game consoles. But hey, cool, awesome. And then hang on a minute. Let me actually type this in because I forgot to type this in too. um, FF15 delayed again. So our last story for today is that the details as far as like why was Final Fantasy 15 was delayed. Last week on the show, I discussed that Final Fantasy 15 was delayed. As far as like what that reason was, there was no indication or no reason for it. So here is the reason for it, and this is by IGN.com. Andrew Goffard. Final Fantasy XV's 2 month delay to November this week may have been disappointing to some fans, but Square Enix is confident will make it for a better experience once the game available worldwide. Speaking to IGN at Gamescom, Final Fantasy 15 director Hajime Tabata, I'm gonna butcher that name, sorry, explained that a hefty day one patch was originally in store for the game, but ultimately he didn't want fans to play offline to be unable to experience the game at best. Instead, he wanted the game to be its most polished state as soon as players put it on the disc. Quote, originally, I was thinking it would be okay if we could put all the extra updates into a day one patch. Tabata told IGN. But at that point, I learned that there are maybe a lot of people who are out there who play in an offline environment and don't have internet. When I found that out, thinking about it again, I'm glad I didn't make that decision. And it goes on to explain more about the patch. And that's actually a very smart thing to do. If you're a game developer and you're making a game, and it's to each their own if you want to keep it consistently connected online to play the game. But in some cases, just like in Street Fighter V, where if you're playing in a game online and you get booted out because you get disconnected from the internet, it sucks. And if I think yes, if you're a developer, you need to think about the people who can play the game may not have internet at all. So
yeah,
yeah, I think yeah, good on them. I'm okay. I'm okay with this delay.
I'm always okay if a developer's like, hey, we need a little extra time.
Yeah, agreed. More time. I mean, it sucks in the sense that it takes a lot of money to delay a game for whatever reason. But this reason in particularly is, I think, a good damn reason too, because you definitely have to set aside thoughts of like, not only are you gonna sell this game to majority of people who are going to play this game online, but majority of the people who are going to play it may not have internet. So that
Yeah,
is good on them to recognize that. It's like, yes, okay, we'll fix that. We'll patch that in. So good stuff, Square Enix. Good stuff. And that's actually going to do it for today. That's our show. So as usual, before we end the show, Greg, where can I find you on the internet?
you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at ChubRockGeek. You can follow me on Snapchat at ChubRockSnap. I do stream every Saturday on Half Empty Energy Tank. Um, that's twitch.tv/Half Empty Energy Tank. You can follow them on Facebook and Twitter as well. Um, we'll have advertisements for whenever the episodes come up. It's usually 5 p.m. every day, or 8 p.m. depending on what side of the world you're on, or the east or west coast. My bad. What else? I'm working on some stuff. I'm trying to get some. I'm adjusting the irons in the fire right now, so hopefully more stuff will come out soon for me. But as of right now, it's just streaming and this.
Cool. Awesome. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Defective Naruto. You see right there. You can follow the work that me and Greg do on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. And get to the end slide. So if you enjoy this podcast, if you're watching this on right now on Twitch, or if you're watching it on our YouTube channel, we have this on iTunes and Stitcher. So you can download it anytime you want. While you're driving, while you're working out, whatever. You can listen to us two dudes talking about video games on this Twitch channel, as well as on YouTube and on iTunes and Stitcher. Also hosted on the website under the podcast section for Mission Star Podcast. If you enjoy us talking about conventions, we've been to many conventions in the past. We talk about them, we give our full thoughts, and we just kind of go and like, hey, this is what this convention did wrong, and this is what the convention did right. Check out The Conover, which is also on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as in the podcast section and the missionstartpodcast.com website. We got a new one coming up pretty soon. It's for Otacon. We had somebody out there checking it out, kind of review pretty soon of it, as well as the image gallery. So be on the lookout for that. And if you enjoy comic books, entertainment, movies, anime, games, like a bit of everything, honestly, check out The Rolling 20s, hosted by Jeremy Wilson, which is up every Friday, talking about all things in that area of the nerdom. And definitely they're also on iTunes and Stitcher. You can also follow them on their Twitter at Rolling20s. Yeah, pretty cool crew. So one last thing I will say before we end the show. I will be hosting tomorrow night's season ending or the season finale of Monday Night Blockbuster season 3 with the Skullmania Day 2, which basically is going to be the main event, main tournament. And it's going to be pretty exciting. And we got people already lined up as far as like who's going to be in it. And it's going to start tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on his Twitch channel on twitch.tv/Mission Star Podcast. And it's going to be pretty hype. And I'm pretty excited. So, with that being said, thank you guys for coming by. And we will see you guys next time.